Governor Schweiker has spent most of his career serving the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He served as the 44th governor of the state. During his time as governor, he created the School Reform Commission to govern the school district of Philadelphia, while oversight of the school district shifted to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Today, the former governor is leveraging his accumulated expertise in the state to serve as the president and CEO of the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce, which advocates on behalf of more than 5,000 member companies in the 11-county region. Under his direction, Select Greater Philadelphia was created and has succeeded in branding and marketing the Greater Philadelphia area nationally and internationally as an optimal place to do business. The Chamber has created a series of business tax cuts at both the local and state level. Governor Schweiker has also championed the Chamber's initiative to connect Philadelphia youth to the business community through paid summer internships with a variety of corporate partners. Over the 3 summers, the program dedicated to building the region's future workforce has increased threefold to 1,500 positions. We're very grateful that Mark has come out to join us today. I was just reminding him of the first time we met. I was here 2 months maybe. And he had graciously hosted a breakfast for me to meet some of the area business leaders. And it was a great event. The one thing that still stands out to this day, though, we went around the table and I was trying to get insights into what people felt about the School of Business at Villanova. And somebody said to me, I didn't know that Villanova had a School of Business. And I hope to God they know we do now. Anyways, I'm very grateful for Mark coming out here.
Thank you, Dean. I heard the word advocating. Perhaps I should advocate for a quick wrap-up and off to Wachovia Center for the Villanova victory tonight.
Yes.
Would you agree with that? And I will be there. I took my son at the train station in Center City at about 6:15, 6:30. So I will be down there and for both games. So thank you for Dean. Thank you. I appreciate your introduction. A little nicer than one I had gotten just. I don't know, not too long after I had gotten into public life, and I had arrived behind schedule, and in a play on words, I was introduced as the late Mark Schweiker. So I was on time for the record. Yes, it's nice that you mentioned those things. I do remember your kickoff, and certainly the Villanova School of Business has always had an appealing quality, and I know that when you hear a remark like that, at a gathering like that, your next thought is branding problems for the School of Business in terms of entities and people and constituencies knowing about the important work of the School of Business. And I go back to that reference in that moment because, friends, to some extent, it is what besets Greater Philadelphia. Do they, in the proverbial sense, know about us, Greater Philadelphia, relative to the rest of the country? Do they know about us relative to the rest of the world? Because if someone, I'm born and raised here. My wife and I, we live in Bucks County, raising our kids here, although 2 are off at school right now. One is, don't boo, sophomore at Rutgers, and freshman at Penn State University. My daughter is a sophomore at Nazareth Academy. So we're here. I've been born and raised here. Actually, I was born at Temple University Hospital, and the story goes from there. But so I have an abiding interest in not just the civic and social success of our region, our home, our community, our region, but in its economic success in a business sense. For the last number of years, that's all I've done. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. I'm the chairman of the region's big company CEOs. And it's our job to ponder what we've got to do to be distinctive and to be successful, to be magnetic, to draw in attention and capital and ideas and commitment, because we are in very competitive times. Some describe it as hyper-competitive. I agree with that observation. This world is moving faster and faster on an everyday basis. And the fact that with that keyboard you can make contact with someone in Bangalore halfway around the world in milliseconds is confirmation that the world is moving faster and faster every day. What's that mean for you and I? What's that mean for those who are actually taking time out of their day to contemplate the region's workforce this day and beyond? We've got to contemplate and figure out what makes us attractive and over the long haul, attractive and successful in an economic and business sense. So I'm able to, at least at the outset here, say thank you for the opportunity to visit. I do appreciate the invitation, and tell you that the talent pipeline, which is a figurative reference to a pipeline, is an incredibly important dimension of any region's ability to succeed in an economic sense. And you've got to grow it. You've got to know which pipelines to grow. You know, should we be talking about luring in companies and workers with skill sets germane to textile production? Maybe in 1939, not in 2009. Maybe we talk about life sciences and smart people that make joint replacement parts. Because we're big in life sciences in 2009. And yes, this burgeoning industry for making joint replacement parts, to a great extent, was originated here. Someone by the name of Rothman, the Rothman Institute at Jefferson, endowed by the wealthy Annenberg family, and suddenly this, what was seen as a cottage industry commitment, has grown. We're one of the most prestigious, attractive places in the world as far as where to have that operation done, and gave rise to that important industry, the subset of life sciences and biotech and biomechanics. I bring that up because we got to know where our sweet spots are. And relative to our message and talking about our sweet spots so we can grow that cluster is key in this very competitive world. And to bring it back to why we gathered today, as you think and wonder what is the region's workforce and why discuss it today, I think it boils down to this, friend, at the end of this particular experience today, and I live this every day. So an aside relative to the examination that occurred today, and some of the academic review, so to speak, important as it is, and full of insights as it is, and I think I speak for Gary now, because we're on the front lines every day. Our job is to grow the region's economy. Gary does it on a full-time, every minute basis for Chester County. My job is to give perspective and build a figurative platform for 11 counties that make up the greater Philadelphia region on an everyday basis. We've got to know where our sweet spots are. We've got to know where our distinctions are. There are many, if for no other reason than how we court site selectors. You probably wonder what that term is, what it's all about. Anyone watch American Idol last night? I didn't either. Hey, could you work with me for a minute? I got one. Well, obviously didn't have enough work to do, so we watched American Idol. Okay, but how about this? I know the name Simon Cowell means something to you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Not everybody likes Simon Cowell because he's in that role of being a tough evaluator. Site selectors are tough evaluators that take a look at regions or in this country and around the world and kind of size you up. They decide whether or not you go forward and are attractive, and they will counsel their client companies to even think about your home, your place, your region. Do it well, you got a shot at luring in new companies and jobs and paychecks, or CJP as we call it, which is maybe not a fancy technical term, but it's what we're all about when we operate Select Greater Philadelphia, which is a regional business marketing and economic development motivated entity. CJP, companies, jobs, and paychecks. That's how you grow, whether it's 10 jobs or 1,000 jobs. The Simon Cowells of the world are essential to our economic success and whether or not we can grow at accelerated rates. We need to court them. And when we finally get them here, or we meet them in Germany, or Bangalore, or Tulsa, or New York City, we've got to know what we're all about. And there are 10 or 11 probably key indicators, and probably much more than that when you kind of size up regions. But I'll tell you this, friends, in a lot of ways, we've got it all. In some ways, we are unique and distinctive, particularly in this talent pipeline. I'll get into what I think is the thesis of my remarks that match up with why we gathered today and talk about the region's workforce. But everyone thinks they got it. Let me just raise a question here. Anyone ever had the opportunity to hear Garrison Keeler talk about Lake Wobegon.
Yeah.
I see some heads going up and down, probably younger folks don't recognize. Commentator would talk about a place called all the men are good looking and all the we're all above average? No. Aspects of competing against other regions. Where are we really above average? And hold me. But let me read something to you first, as far as a second citation as to the fight we're in and where we may not have the distinctions we think we do. Let me read this to you.
National magazines as among the best places to live, work, and play, and the benefits of living and doing become clearer. Sound like Greater Philadelphia? We can say those things, maybe not word for word. That's Atlanta's literature from the Chamber of Commerce. We're all above average. We all are motivated by this idea that, or we're kind of afflicted by this idea that Lake Wobegon can be ours, that we can all be above average. We all believe, many places, Boise, Idaho believes this. Atlanta believes this. Charlotte believes this. And by the way, to talk about regional business marketing, an important aside, you'll probably hear more about Charlotte than you will at times than Greater Philadelphia. Even though in terms of economic impact, they're down here small and we're up here. But perceptually it's like this. Even though of late they've really gotten hit hard because of the whole Bank of America fiasco. You know, they wanted to be the financial capital and banking capital of the country after New York City. But perceptually, they're kind of seen up here and we're down here. That's the power of regional business marketing, positioning, and branding, kind of things that Dean Danko thinks about. But as we talk about Atlanta, that's how they see themselves. So today, as we talk about the region's workforce, are we really distinctive on this count of the region's workforce? And can I prove it? I'd like to think we can prove it. We have 92 colleges and universities. Atlanta can't match that. Very few places can match that. Villanova, and not to sound patronizing, is at the top of that figurative list in terms of the smart people that they produce. You've got to keep them here. Then you throw in, you know, community technical training sites and special platforms for training and workforce development. Very few regions can match us. Kind of use a weightlifting analogy here. Our pipes, which is a figurative term for, you know, what's here, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would often say, take a look at these pipes. Our pipes are big. There are plenty of regions who can't match our pipes. Even Atlanta. So while we're out there always touting our quality of life and a great place to live, work, and play, really what is our distinction? In my estimation, and it's a partial answer to what you discussed today, as far as the quality of a region's workforce and what you can expect in the future, we are strong and appealing if we play our cards right. Our pipes are pretty good, especially when you have that kind of demographic look. 92 colleges and universities and some very special training and workforce development platforms. It boils down to this, friends. We accent this and grow this in focused ways. We win economically. We don't, we lose. So for you, perhaps today was a day-long exposure to a topic that may seem arcane and uninteresting at times. For me, as someone who quarterbacks the effort to distinguish this region and help it grow in accelerated ways, if we blow it, we lose. And what happens? Well, you'll choose to go somewhere else. That's how loss manifests when regions compete against other regions. It's when you hear your neighbors say, I think I'm going to go somewhere else to use my degree because I feel a greater sense of promise about that place as opposed to here. You're the ultimate arbiter as to whether or not this is rewarding place to be. So regional business marketing generally is key to this, and specifically, I'll say this, again, consistent with the topic, we are solid when it comes to the pipeline of the ingredients that help us be successful and to stand out. We can't rest. I will tell you a couple of things, and I'll try to finish up and offer the opportunity for some reactions. Relative to those site selectors, just to be specific now, they're always going to look at a region and say, how's the supply-demand balance in that region? They're going to counsel a company, Fortune 100 or smaller, as to where to plant an operation or to grow itself. If they're looking at our 11-county Greater Philadelphia region, they're going to compare us to other places. One of the key determinants is the balance of supply. Skilled workers, appropriately skilled workers, supply of them versus the demand. If these companies take a look at your place and they feel like that there is insufficient numbers of skilled workers, or too many of them, and the balance is out of where you can make it very, very difficult for yourself. It makes sense. If a company has to pay excessive wages, and they can operate in a place with lower cost, where do they go?
Lower cost.
They go to lower cost. We have to be in market, but this supply of skilled workers to demand is key. And right now, Greater Philadelphia is in pretty good shape. I won't go into too much of the detail. I think you already had much of that today. But as it relates to Greater Philadelphia compared to other regions, it is one of our clear-cut advantages. And how do we preserve this relative to the state of life sciences and biotech? The reality is we've got a pretty good slice of the market share in this country, depending on what metric you use. I mean, the Milken Foundation, what was it, Phil? Milken said when it comes to workers in that industry cluster, we're either 1 or 2 relative to the rest of the country.
They had us ranked second in terms of proportional impact of the regional economy.
Yeah.
And the only city above us was Raleigh-Durham, so among big cities, we're far and away the largest.
Big. I mean, Washington, D.C. is what it is because of all those federal workers. You know, it's a one industry town, so to speak, the government industry. We're not, we probably have 40 industry sectors, some smaller. Big ones are, you know, chemicals, life sciences, as I mentioned, biotech, information technology, and there are others. So we're not a one company or one industry town, but in life sciences and biotech, we're big, and we've got to hold on to that. And I think the way we hold on to that, there's an A to B here. A, we have to contemplate how it is that we hold on to market share and grow it. My belief is that we've got to have mind share first. And that's where Select Greater Philadelphia comes in. As we tell the world that we're big time, using these data points in fashionable ways, the more you get that out there, the likelihood that you can preserve your place. The way you do it, someone graduates from the University of Indiana. They've got a degree experience related to life sciences. They're a junior or senior, and they finally sit down with that counselor with their favorite prof, and they go, so where can I take this to have a career and make some money? At that moment, in that prof's mind, you want them to say, well, here's how I see it. San Diego, Boston, Philadelphia. That's when you have mind share. That's when you're winning the regional business marketing game at that moment. Mind share precedes market share. You bring in those smart minds, you grow the cluster, you have the appropriate skilled workers for the many companies in that particular industry cluster. I'm oversimplifying, but that's what Select does on an every day, every minute basis. And by the way, it's only 5 years old. It's consistent with my time as the president of the chamber. To give you an idea of the kind of fight we're in, Atlanta's been doing this for probably a good 30 years. San Francisco first mentioned the term regional business marketing in 1958. Atlanta has raised over $50 million to tout their advantages and do company recruitment and deal fulfillment In other words, to beat your economic brains in, $50 million. You know, we've raised about 27. We're larger than Atlanta. We're 4, 5, and 6, depending on the metrics that you use compared to these other regions. So to keep that market share, to grow it, to have sufficiently skilled workers for that industry cluster, you need to keep up regional business marketing. B, relative to the region's workforce, we've got to make an abundant number of special training platforms at all levels in this region. Let me read one to you, and then I'll finish up. And Claire Greenwood, I don't know if you've talked about it, but the Greater Philadelphia Bioinformatics Alliance, talk about that. This is, I'll mention the names, some banner names here: Centocor, Cephalon, GlaxoSmithKline, Tengion out in East Norristown. They've helped endow, and there's special, and in this experience, there's special training to the world of bioinformatics relative to how you conduct important lab-driven research operations that give rise to commercially rewarding appliances and applications and that kind of thing, to make sure that young people like yourself and non-traditional students have exposure to advanced biology and advanced computation science content. They become relevant to those companies. We can't, in other words, we're not leaving it to chance that these minds are ready for that particular workplace. Special training platforms. We need more of those. We need more partnerships, much like what is being emphasized here at the School of Business relative to understanding what particularly a graduate needs in a workplace. Real connection between what's desired in the workplace and used every day and what's emphasized in the classrooms and in other settings on a college campus, called the Greater Philadelphia Bioinformatics Alliance. I do want to mention one that's been around a long time. This is not only about the advanced degree experience, friends. We cannot make the mistake of believing everyone comes the idea of a 4-year degree. The reality is that's not the reality in which we operate at Select Greater Philadelphia. We have 11 counties, many of them suburban, many urban settings in our 11-county region, Philadelphia being one of them, and we need to be always mindful of nearby jobs, whether they're in casinos or in riverside operations along the Delaware. So that's why I want to mention the OIC. For the past 20 years, OIC has trained workers for our hospitality business. That goes back 20 years. And I could not mention OIC without invoking the name of Reverend Leon Sullivan, who started this in some very racially charged times 20 years ago, to say, you know, the real key when it comes to improving a community in a civic and business sense is a job. And Leon Sullivan was unrelenting, God rest his soul, as far as providing meaningful job opportunities. And not only for those who are of the mind that they could even consider or afford a 4-year degree or an advanced graduate school level experience. So they are examples of how you preserve the talent pipeline, which is a big component of successful regional business marketing. Now, having said all that, don't take this from me. You can invite in site selectors, and they're known for their insight and their bluntness as to whether or not Greater Philadelphia is in the hunt. We've made tremendous progress in the last 4 to 5 years. But you know, this race goes faster and faster and faster. It's not like one of those NASCAR races on a Saturday where there is a final lap and everyone goes home and you have a victor. Doesn't work that way now. Anyone ever been to Bangalore in India? The Silicon Valley of India? Been there. Incredible. Thank God Asian Indians have a fascination for the United States of America. It's the second biggest democracy on the planet after ours. They have just a wonderful fondness for us. They're on our side, so to speak. And what they're doing over there is just incredible. I bring this up because the cost of doing business markedly lower in some categories of business operation compared to what we've got in the U.S. And there are other points of comparison geographically that I bring up that I could bring up that I won't. But this race is moving faster and faster and faster. And aside from all of the much used measures of what distinguishes a region, the talent pipeline and the availability of skilled workers through special training and workforce development platforms, I think guarantees our success. So it's more than just academic. I do think we're making real progress on that count. We're far from the ideal, but we've made plenty of progress. So with that, I'll go ahead and deal with any reactions or questions, and we'll head south to Wachovia Center.
Yeah, I have a question. We've learned we have a fairly diverse industry base here in Philadelphia, strong advantages in biosciences. Looking ahead over the next 10 years, what do you see as maybe prospective industry growth? What industries do you see prospectively here, and particularly in terms of the export?
Well, here, we got to keep doing what we've gotten good at in the last 10 to 15 years. 80% of the new jobs are going to come from a limited number of industry clusters in our regions. Much like in the world of business, as you'll soon come to know or may already know, 80% of, in most companies, 80% of revenue comes from about 20% of the customer base. It follows for a region that 80% of our growth, and don't hold me to the precise numbers, but you get the point. 80% of our jobs are going to come from a limited number of industry sectors. I mentioned a couple of them already. Life sciences, biotech, and healthcare. I mean, you can't move hospitals. You could, theoretically. But they not only provide important human care, but they're always contemplating a better way to provide care in the labs and other affiliated settings. And, for example, Fox Chase out in Northeast Philadelphia. I mean, they are a worldwide known institution that fights cancer and successfully. I'm individually speaking, I'm troubled by the way the city of Philadelphia has handled an expansion opportunity that Fox Chase has presented to the city and the region, because this is world class. There are places in this world that if you could pack them up in an hour and move them away, they would pay top dollar to affect that transfer. But that's a political observation on my part. We've got to keep them. But the point is you can't really move them. So I think we're going to continue to have growth there. And we've got to feed them and provide supportive policy and dynamics that make us more attractive so they wouldn't think about moving. By the way, when I'm talking about, I probably wouldn't be troubled if they decided to have a satellite installation in northern Delaware. That's part of our region. If they choose to do it outside New York City, it probably would harm us economically. But if life sciences, biotech, and life care or healthcare, no doubt about it. I think take a look at the world of financial services, relative to mutual fund operations, we're one of the strongest in the world. Vanguard has 8,000 workers not too far from here. The Lincoln Financial Group is in Radnor, not too far from here. There's a cluster, and when you have that cluster, it has a gravitational pull around the world, and in all kinds of settings. And that's why you got to keep pushing out your images and your brand and your positioning, so that when they think about, well, I want to be a portfolio analyst, and they finally turn to their favorite prophet and say, where do you think I should go? They're likely going to say Manhattan, because Manhattan's still, the financial capital. They may think, maybe talk about a foreign destination like Frankfurt, if they're comfortable speaking German. But you want them to say Greater Philadelphia, because if the first job doesn't work out, there are plenty of other positions around the region, because there's a cluster, there's an abundant number of options and companies for you. So I think in financial services, still got to be big, and there because we're an affordable place to be. I mean, relative to New York, we're an affordable place to be. New York City, that is. San Fran. I mean, San Fran. You take a look at a place like San Fran. Downtown San Fran, you can't raise a family in downtown San Francisco on $100,000 a year. I mean, I guess you could, man, I couldn't imagine the austerity that you'd have to emphasize. Out there, there's little support for the public school system, just to offer a digression, because a lot of those residents don't have kids in the urban core, in the public system, because they don't have kids. They can't live there. It's too expensive. But we're more affordable. That helps this cause of preserving these clusters and drawing in more skilled workers. In fact, at one point, Select ran an ad. I think it was the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, I forget where it was, but we tried to make the point that we're a 2-for-1 deal, and we would have nice suburban, pictures, and have one pool in the backyard of a Boston home or a New York City area home, and then when we showed greater photo, we'd have 2 pools. To drive home the point that we're 2-for-1. We're more affordable than what you expend in places like that. So I think in financial services generally, and by the way, in financial services, they've spun up some really fascinating, rewarding IT concepts. We're still big there, and that's just gonna, we're all kind of going sideways now. But you take a look at the hiring trends of the last 10, 15, 20 years, and they've been slowly going up. So I think that that will continue. And chemicals are still big, believe it or not. And we got to watch this Dow Roman Haas thing. But I think they're still going to serve us well going forward. By the way, when Roman Haas has a quarter where they lose 82% of this past quarter compared to the quarter of the year before, off by 82%. That's telling you that the world is really dealing with recessive economic conditions. So, but then we pay very close attention to how Dow and Roman Haas will comport themselves going forward. And we think right now we're going to be okay. So, a couple of examples there. Anyone else? Thank you.